Hi there, I'm Rob, the writer and producer of the High Desert Podcast and Strategic Outreach Coordinator at the Santa Fe Animal Shelter. Hey, can I ask you a favor? Share this with everyone you know. Unlike most podcasts, this one supports so much more than just the program itself. We want to use it as a way of increasing awareness and raise funds for our organization, a 501c3 nonprofit and the only animal shelter in Santa Fe. We do not receive public funding and rely on help from donors to save the nearly 20,000 animals that we serve every year. Please consider donating or, short of that, telling people about this project. With enough listeners, we can get the High Desert Podcast sponsored. That way you can save lives just by listening. If you have questions or an idea for a story, please do not hesitate to contact us directly at podcast@sfhumanesociety.org. That's PAWEDCAST at sfhumanesociety.org. Enjoy the show. Why does the Santa Fe Animal Shelter go to such great lengths to save just one animal?
She was what we would probably call a resident dog, had no interest in humans, was terribly afraid of us, at any moment would bolt away from us.
In most places around the world, this dog would be fed, pitied, and killed. But Santa Fe is different. Because of incredible community support, we will do everything we can to save that life. We'll fix whatever injuries the dog has, we'll have behaviorists expose him to different people and other dogs, attempting to rid him of his fear. Because we believe that homeless animals are not disposable. They are not trash. And the way we treat them is a reflection of the community we are. When you tell someone that you work for an animal welfare organization, they make a lot of assumptions about the kind of person you are.
Well, I think they assume that I'm a little bit of an introvert and kind of a wacko because I thoroughly enjoy animal companionship, sometimes more than I do with humans.
One person told me that they thought it was a waste of money as it wasn't a human-centered cause.
I guess maybe one really big stereotype is that we're all kind of nutty. We're gonna burn down animal testing factories or stuff like that.
Most just seem to assume that you must be so socially inept that you would rather spend time with animals than people. Hasn't that been true of everyone at some point? I mean, even if just for a few minutes? Jeff, over in Adoptions, he used to host a radio show and recently published a book about cinema history in New Mexico. Murad used to be a TV producer. Evelyn, the leader of our growth team, did aid work in war-torn places around Africa and Europe. Most of us here at the Santa Fe Animal Shelter do this work because we know that this is a problem we can actually solve, and we're making progress. We've been in a unique situation since our founding. The Santa Fe Animal Shelter was started in 1939 and has always been the only animal shelter in the city.
We can't do it with our governments, and I don't mean to sit here and criticize animal controls in any way, shape, or form, but if you look at the course of history, we have seen that animal control and the carrying of animals has been about protecting people from animals. Humane societies and shelters like ours are about protecting animals from people.
That's the voice of Mary Martin, our executive director. Most developed countries have national humane departments that run their shelters. For a number of complex historical and political reasons, the United States never created this organizational structure. Instead, animal welfare in this country is made up of a patchwork of shelters and humane societies operated by private nonprofits or local governments, locked in constant struggles to keep from drowning in debt.
So people often want to know why we need so much money to run our programs. Any shelter needs so much money. Out there in the world, it's thought that we should be able to do these things on a shoestring. Well, the truth for us is that the expertise that we need to rehabilitate animals that have been harmed for all kinds of reasons is very expensive. And to do that requires, as I said, a significant amount of funding for veterinarians, for behavior specialists, for all kinds of different people. And it's not just those specialists, it's the people that make those matches and adoptions. It's the people that that coach people when they're relinquishing their animals, hoping to find a way to solve that problem. It's the person who cleans the kennels. It's the person who walks the dogs. All of that costs money, and it will not be funded by our governments.
Your taxes don't pay for this service. In fact, let me repeat that. Your taxes do not pay for this service. We house county and city animal control under a contract, and they pay rent to use that space. That sum amounts to around 6% of our budget. We are not alone in this arrangement, but many people seem to see our shelter as a public entity. Most don't know that their tax dollars do not fund this enterprise. Kind-hearted donors do. Despite this decades-long uphill battle, we have become one of the most progressive animal shelters in the country, taking our euthanasia rate from the national average, which is around 40 to 50%, to just under 5%. We partner with other shelters, public and private, to move animals to locations where they're most likely to be adopted. We engage our communities in experimental outreach strategies, knocking on doors, offering to spay or neuter pets for free, repairing fences so the family dog can't escape again, and still, we only represent one piece of a much larger worldwide problem. We asked Director of Adoptions Dylan Moore to explain in more detail.
The dogs are kind of carryovers from a more agrarian society. We bred them for intelligence. We bred them for workability, for lack of a really good word. So high endurance, high energy, smart, relatively fearless dogs, because that's pretty handy to have when you're worried about working livestock and fending off things that want to eat your livestock. And unfortunately, society evolved a whole lot quicker than evolution evolves. We end up basically taking, call it 1,000 years worth of work to breed a dog to do the job we want it to do on the farm, and then call it 100 years of time to go from farm to however you want to describe our society now. And those traits are not as valuable. I don't necessarily need a fearless dog to chase coyotes off of my rabbit ranch. It's not really what I need. And at the same time, you have these pretty heavy social indicators of status symbols, I guess, for lack of a better word, where I have a big, tough, strong dog, and that's what all my peers have, and that's what my cohort wants to see, so that's what I'm going to get. I'm going to get a big, tough, strong dog that's been bred to be working livestock, and then I'm going to try and cram it into a house or an apartment for 8 hours a day, not give it much to do, and hope that it doesn't act out, for lack of a better phrase.
We domesticated dogs over 30,000 years ago. Cats we domesticated much later than that. But we bred them for specific purposes. Looking back on the thousands of years that we've spent with these animals, it's like holding up a cracked and scratched mirror to our own history. We've done a terrible job of caring for them, to the extent that now, in this country, the richest in the history of the world, we will euthanize 2.7 million cats and dogs this year alone. We have the solutions. We know how this problem got out of control, but we still need your help to fix it and spread the word about how we can help other shelters achieve this same level of success. By using truly massive amounts of resources, we've made a dent here in Santa Fe. We offer free spay-neuter services to prevent further overpopulation, and we never immediately write off any animal that comes to us. We could see the end of animal homelessness in our lifetime, but it's going to require a lot more time and frankly a lot more money. We contribute so much because we can fix this once and for all. Is it not worth it to finally do everything we can to end this injustice so that we do not have to contribute so much to it in the future? Why go to these lengths just to save one animal? Because we can. Because we're damn good at it. And because if we get it right this time, we can finally fix this. Thank you so much, podcast patrons. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the High Desert Podcast. If you have any questions, please submit them to podcast@sfhumanesociety.org, and remember to donate at our website, sfhumanesociety.org, or on our Patreon page. Only you can help us keep these animals and this show alive.